Hi, and welcome to section 5-1. Our topic today is checking accounts. Just like with people, businesses also have bank accounts where they will deposit their money in a safe place. And so, just as people, we can fill out checks to pay our bills, to buy our groceries, to pay someone back that we owe money to. Businesses also have to write out checks as well. And so in today's lesson, I'm going to show you step by step how to complete a check as well as a check stub. What you have in front of you is an example of what a check stub is. On some of your checkbooks today, you might have a carbon copy underneath as a record. But in most cases with businesses, they have a check stub. It's like basically it's a receipt in a way of what you just wrote a check out for. So it's a way of keeping a record on your files of what the check was about that you wrote to either a customer or a vendor, and it's to keep in your records. And so on a check stub, sometimes you need to record when you make a deposit. And in this example, we have a deposit that was made for $5,000. And if you're looking at the screen, you'll see that the balance brought forward was $0. What that means is this business had no money in their account to get started with, so this might be a brand new business. And so we're depositing on August the 1st, we're depositing $5,000. And so our subtotal, or current balance, if you will, is $5,000. And so now that we have $5,000 in our bank accounts, we can start writing checks out that are $5,000 or less. Now, on the back of any check, there is a place for you to endorse the check. So if you ever receive a check from someone, in order to cash it or deposit into your account, you would need to sign it. You would have to endorse it, saying that you are the person that this check was meant for, and that the money is to go either given to you in your hands if it was to be cashed, or placed into your bank account if it is to be deposited. And there are 3 different types of endorsements. Most people know about this endorsement, which is a blank endorsement. All that has is your signature, and that's it. It doesn't say what account it's going into. It doesn't say if it's a savings account or a checking account. It doesn't have the account number. And this is a way that if you ever endorse a check, of course you want to use pen. You don't want to use pencil because it could be erased. But a blank endorsement is really an endorsement that you don't want to sign until you get to the bank, or just before you upload your check on your smartphone, because you can now deposit checks with your smartphone by taking a picture of it. But you do not want to endorse it ahead of time until the exact moment of, just in case you were to lose the check. Someone, a complete stranger, could pick that check up off the ground. Once you have that endorsed with a blank endorsement, they can deposit into their account, or they can have it cashed. Because once you use a blank endorsement, you are giving permission to any person, including yourself, to either cash or deposit this check. So that's why you want to wait to the very last minute to endorse it, so that it doesn't get into the wrong hands. Another form of endorsement is a restrictive endorsement, and this is a more safe approach to endorsing a check. I'd recommend that all people endorse their checks this way. It restricts it from being further transferred to someone else by perhaps accident. What it does is it tells the teller what the check is meant for. In this case, it's meant to be deposited only, and it has the name of the business where it's going to go to. In some cases, you could also include the bank account number as well. So in case this check did get lost and it had already been endorsed, no one could deposit into their account. It would have to go into this specific account only. It could not be cashed either. So it is a little bit more safe. Just in case it were to be lost and placed into the wrong hands, it would have to go into this person's account and nowhere else. A special endorsement is not used very often, but sometimes it's used when, let's say that you receive a check from someone and you want to give that check to someone else instead. And so instead of having to write out a brand new check to do that, you can take a check that was written to you and give it to someone else to use instead. And that's a special endorsement. So in this example, it says pay to the order of, And then you have beneath that the name of the new person that you want to give this check to. Beneath their name is your name, your signature, to verify that I'm not keeping this check for myself, but instead I'm going to give it to, in this example, Eleanor Johnson instead. So Eleanor Johnson is now going to take ownership of this check, and Kim Park has endorsed it so that she is saying, yep, I'm giving this check to Eleanor Johnson instead. I'm not keeping it for myself. Okay, so what you have in front of you now is an example of a check stub. And a check stub has to be completed in a certain method. There are 5 steps, actually 6 steps to complete this check stub. And the first thing is visualize in your mind what this check is being written out for. So step 1 asks us to write the check amount. So if you were to write a check to someone, how much are you going to write it out for? In this case, they're writing out for $275. The date is the date you're writing the check out for, in this case, August the 3rd, 2014. And who is the check going to? This is the payee. This is the person that is going to receive this check. So the business we're giving our check to is to the Port City Supply Company in the amount of $275. Step 4 is to record the purpose of the check. This is for your benefit, your record, so that you don't forget why you wrote the check out. So we're writing this check to Port City Supply Company for supplies. Maybe we're paying them back for a previous purchase of supplies. Okay, but it can be for any amount, any reason. Okay. And step number 5 is to write the check amount again, so you can see right below subtotal. So the subtotal tells us, okay, we have $5,000 in our checking account. Okay, so we don't want to write a check for more than that, because that means we would not have enough money to pay it. But we have $5,000 in our bank account right now. And so we're writing a check for $275, and that should be okay because we have enough money to cover that. And so once we start off with $5,000 and we're writing a check for $275, we need to subtract that from our balance. Because when you write a check to someone, that money is coming out of your account, so you need to subtract that. So we started with $5,000. We're writing this check for $275. So $5,000 minus $275 brings us down to $4,725. And that is now our accurate bank account balance. And this is kind of like what you would do in real life when you balance a checkbook. You need to know what your current account balance is at all times. And in most cases, this is more up-to-date and more accurate than it would be to check your account online, because you could write a check to someone and they might not cash it for a week, and so therefore your online account balance wouldn't show that. But if you have records on paper of the checks that you just wrote out, then you're aware of this balance before your bank even knows. So then I would suggest that, balancing your checkbook is more up to date, and it is your records, your handwriting, and so usually you understand more of what's going on in your own bank account than sometimes banks do. And so therefore, on the next check stub, if we were to write another check later, this balance carried forward would be the amount that we'd write on the next check stub for the bank account balance. And now we have a picture of a check that would be written out. And there are also steps to completing that. We have a total of 6 steps. And if you've ever written a check out before, this should be fairly simple for you. But if this is your first time, what you want to do is kind of start your way from top and work your way down. And you want to use ink. You never want to use pencil because it could be erased. And ink is more permanent. And so this check was written on August the 3rd of 2014. Paid to the order of. This is right below the date. Paid to the order of. And you want to write the check to who the check is to be written to. This is the payee. And so this check is being written to Port City Supply Company. So that's the person or the company that we're giving our check to. And next to that on the right, you would write the amount of this check in numbers. And this check was written for $275.00. Beneath that, you write the amount of the check again, but this time you write it out using words. So in words, this says $275 and no cents. And so you would do that twice, not only in numbers but also in words, just in case the numbers on the second line were not easy to read. The bank teller could then go to the second line, and that would be the final official amount of that check. So if they can't read the numbers, they would look at this and use this as the official amount. So you want to make sure you're as legible as possible, because you wouldn't want any numbers to be misconstrued and entered differently than what you meant it to be. As far as the cents go, you can see that on this example they have the word no /100. That means no cents over 100 pennies and a dollar. And there were, let's pretend there was 50 cents on this check. You would write 50 /100 to represent 50 cents. And to the right of that, there is this line being drawn across. And the line drawn across means it's a little bit of protection for yourself so that no one can add in additional wording. So if this check got into the wrong hands, you wouldn't want the person to write this check or cash it or deposit it for more money than you intended to. So it's a way of protecting yourself so that no one can write any additional amounts. And step 11 is to write the purpose of the check, kind of like a memo to yourself as to what was the reason of this check being written out in the first place. And this would indicate to me that we are paying Port City Supply Company back for supplies that we had bought maybe a while ago, or we just want to remember that we are buying supplies, or whatever the case may be. And the last step is to sign your name in cursive. The rest of the check does not have to be in cursive, by the way. It can be in print, but all signatures officially should be written in cursive. And in most cases, for personal use at least, you'd want to include your middle initial if you do have one. Okay, so let's practice with endorsements. Okay, so on your textbook on page number 123, it asks us to complete 3 endorsements, and you're going to use your own signature for these endorsements, by the way. And so letter A says to write a blank endorsement. Okay, remember, a blank endorsement is just your name, just your signature, and that would go on the top line. So you would just write your signature on the top line, and I would include your middle initial to make it official. Letter B says to write the special endorsement. We're going to transfer a check to the person named Kelsey Sather. And what that means is we're going to take a check that was intended to be written to us, but we're going to give it to Kelsey Sather instead. So in the top line, you're going to write pay to the order of. On the second line, we're going to write Kelsey Sather's name. Kelsey is the name of the person that is going to be receiving this check instead of us. We're giving permission for her to take control of the check. And on the third line, we would have to verify that by writing our own signature, saying that yes, we are for sure giving this check, even though it was written to us in the first place, we're going to give it to Kelsey Sather to use instead. And letter C says to write a restrictive endorsement for a deposit to a check for the name of the business of Balsam Lake Accounting. So what you would do on the top line, you write the phrase for deposit only to, just so it wouldn't be cashed instead. And on the second line, the account of. On the third line, you have the name of the business, so Balsam Lake Accounting. So this check would be deposited into that account of Balsam Lake Accounting. And then you have the owner's name or accountant's name written below that to verify that, yes, this check is going to be deposited, not cashed, to the account of Balsam Lake Accounting. And this is safe because that way no other business or no other person could ever take control of this check because it says exactly what it's intended for. And again, always use pen, permanent ink, just so no one can, erase and change to where the check is being intended to go. Okay, the next part of the work together is, it says record the balance brought forward on check stub number 78 for $1,805.75. So what that means is we have a current balance in our account of $1,805.75 that goes in the middle of the check stub where it says balance brought forward. Okay, and we are depositing, according to the directions on line 3, we're depositing $489 on October 30th. So we write the date of October the 30th. We're depositing $489. And so our subtotal, remember, deposits is when you add money to your account. So we had $1,805.75 to begin with. We're adding a deposit of $489. So now our balance is even higher. So our subtotal, our new balance, is for $2,294.75. So that's how much money we now have in our account. And now it tells us that we are going to prepare a check stub for the corner garage. We're writing a check to the corner garage for $162 on October 30th. So on the top line, you would write the amount for $162, the date, which would be October the 30th, and this is being written out to our customer corner garage, and they must have made a repair for us because it says to write the check for a repair. Okay, so the question you should ask yourself is there enough money in this bank account to write the check for $162? And if we look at our subtotal, we have plenty of money to write that check for. So the subtotal is the same as the subtotal in the middle. So the subtotals are the same amount, written again. And the amount of the check is for $162. And when we write a check to someone, we expect that check to be deposited on their behalf. So that's money that will be coming out of our account. It's going to be withdrawn from our account. So our subtotal is $2,294.75. We are going to subtract the amount of this check. So we're going to subtract $162. So our balance to be carried forward to the next check stub, or our current bank account balance, is $2,132.75. So that is our active account balance. So now we have to write the check out on the right, start from top, work our way down. So the date is October 30th, 2014. We're writing this check to the corner garage for $162. Write that in words. Write that in numbers first, and then on the next line, write that $162 and no cents on the second line in words. And don't forget, if you have any remaining space left, to draw a line so that no one can write any additional amounts without your permission. This check was written for repairs, and then we would have our signature on the very bottom to give permission for this check to be given to the corner garage and deposited or cashed, whatever they prefer. Okay, so the next part of our directions says to use check stub number 79. So now we're going to write a check to the St. Croix supply for supplies for $92. So before we do that, take a look at our balance carried forward for $2,132.75. We're going to take that amount and write it on the next check stub. So again, we're going to take that balance carried forward for $2,132.75. We're going to take that to our next check stub, and where it says balance brought forward in the middle of the check stub, we're going to write that same amount again, $2,132.75. And the subtotal, again, $2,132.75, because we're not making a deposit. The directions don't tell us that we're making a deposit, so we do not have to worry about including any deposited amount. So this check is, according to our directions, going to be written for $92, and it's October 30th again, and this is going to the St. Croix supply, and this is for supplies, so we keep buying supplies here apparently. And so our subtotal now, since we're writing a check for $92, we go to our subtotal. The subtotal is the same as the subtotal above, just so we know our current bank account balance is $2,132.75. And ask yourself, do we have enough in our account to write this check to our customer or to our to our vendor, and it's for $92. So yeah, we have enough money for that. So the amount on the check is $92. So you take our existing balance, our subtotal of $2,132.75, subtract 92. So now our current account balance after this check has been written out is $2,040.75, which would be written on the next check stub when we get there eventually. So let's fill a check. To fill the check out, we have to write the date, October 30th, 2014. This is going to the order of St. Croix Supply for $92.00. So we have to write that again in words below this, 92 and no /100. And again, if you have any remaining space, kind of draw a line on there so no additional words can be added in. And the 4 is for supplies, a little memo to ourselves so we don't forget why we wrote the check. And then you'd sign your name below that. And that's how you write the checks. And that's how we also write our check stubs. Okay, I will see you tomorrow in section 5.2. We will be learning about how to reconcile our checking accounts. I'll see you then.